Welcome back to another episode of In the Pocket Podcast. I am your host, SOU to the P. Joined as always by my good brother, Big Mike. What's going on?
Hey man, we beat the bye week. Can't be mad about that. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it always feels good to get a break um, and to not have to worry about whether you win or whether you lose, especially when the division does the losing for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Listen, man, I want to get right into it, but I want to start off with continuing from our theme of last week where we were talking about disrespect at the height of disrespect, right? Jamar Chase serving his 1 game suspension and formally issuing an apology where he
Although,
apologizes to the organization, but not to Jalen Ramsey. So
although he never spit though.
he did, though.
Correct. But
He
according
did.
to
Yeah, according to him, he didn't. So I don't know what he's apologizing for. If it was me and I didn't spit, I wouldn't be apologizing. But let's continue on this trend of disrespectful things to do on a football field, and let's just run it back just a mere 24 hours. San Francisco, Carolina, Trayvon Moehrig, Brandon Jennings, Juwan Jennings, right? Like you're losing the game, so what do? Swift punch to the nuts. It's better than the peanut punch.
yeah, and it's better than getting spit on.
I guess, man, but it still didn't force the ball out, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't get, bro. Like some of this has been the weirdest year, bro. We even saw it trickle down to college. Like a player here at CSU spit on somebody, got kicked out the game, and they're suspended for a week. Um, punching somebody smooth in the balls yesterday is absolutely bananas, bro. Like I don't know what the hell's going on this year, man. I think I do think I know what it is, and I'll just solve the problem. What it is defenses are playing at a level this year that a lot of these offenses are not used to because the league has turned really offensive, right? And there's been so many teams investing in defense in different places, and some of these offenses are a little more frustrated because the reality is most of this stuff has been offensive players, if we're being real, right? Like the receiver, CSU, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, and it's not all on offense. I'm not saying that, but I just think like these defenses are getting under some of these offensive skin and they're handling it that way. Actually, I can't even say that shit because it was Jordan Carter or Jordan Davis is the one that started it all.
Well, yeah, he started with the spitting on Dak at the beginning of the game.
I'll retract that statement. I was just thinking about. I don't know, bro. I don't know what it is. I'm back to being stumped, man. That's
Yeah, well, somebody investigate what they're putting in the Gatorade because it's clearly what's that old commercial that Gatorade had? If it's in you,
yeah. CTE. It's like
yeah. Good Lord. Yeah. I mean, listen, last night went about exactly how everybody thought it was going to go. Right. The Panthers had a chance to take firm control over the NFC South. Couldn't do it against the 49ers, who, say what you will about the 49ers, man. And them being banged up and missing pieces, like they're a well-coached team. They've got some depth there, and they're still feisty. And there's a solid chance that they're going to be around come playoff time, and they're going to be one of those teams that you just don't want to play at the end of the season because they're going to be physical and they're going to be on your head top.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I think if you look at the playoff positioning on both sides, the NFC and the AFC, it's kind of insane to see some of the teams that are at where they're at. But the thing about the Niners is they've had so many injuries over the years that they're really used to that next man up mentality. But that's a team that doesn't even get the excuse anymore. Oh, they're hurt because they're hurt so much that at this point they're just kind of used to it. And Mac Jones came in and held it down. Brock Purdy looked rusty, which I did expect him to look rusty.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to be in good shape. I think they have this coming. I looked at who they have this week, and it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle this week, man. But I think Brock Purdy being able to get another week under his belt, him being able to come back is a phenomenal thing. And I know I gotta say who they're playing because I know it's the Browns. They're playing Shador. Shador's going into they're playing Shador. So that's gonna be a defensive battle, I think, because as bad as the Browns offense has been, their defense has been that much better. Mm-hmm. That's a tough second game back for Brock Purdy, but we'll see how the 49ers handle it, man. Him versus Trent Williams. Trent Williams coming back from an injury this year, from last year's injury. we'll see what kind of shape that they're in and what Myles Garrett does.
Well, listen, man, since you started it, let's just stay there, right? Let's talk about the Browns. More specifically, let's talk about two key players on the Browns. Let's talk about Shedeur and his first start, and then let's talk about the historical run that Myles Garrett is on right now. First things first, man. Shedeur gets his first win against the Raiders, and again, right, we can talk about quality of competition, things of that nature. I think most important, if you want to eliminate like the quality of the competition, like he just came out and he looked like a competent quarterback. Like of course, he made some mistakes, which is what we expect from a young quarterback to do. But he looked poised in the pocket. He was moving. He got the ball out, and there were a couple good plays, like just a couple like wow moments where you saw like, oh, this is what it could be. And even Myles Garrett on the sideline, right? I think it's that one where he boots out to the right and he's throwing on the run, and it's what like
Isaiah Bond,
yeah, man. And even Myles Garrett was like, "Yo, we might got one." So I'm happy for him, man. Like I'm happy for him. Some of the gameplay, like the game plan, still confuse me. It doesn't feel like Kevin Stefanski is still like ready to embrace Shedeur to me, especially when like I haven't seen the Browns run that much Wildcat ever. But all of a sudden, Shedeur is a starting quarterback. It's almost like they just don't want to give him the opportunity to firmly grasp the starting spot. Now, I know that they have named him the starter, but this it feels more reluctant from Stefanski than anything because the crowd went crazy. He saw the energy that the team went, and you won the game. It's kind of hard to argue that he shouldn't be the starter, even with Dillon Gabriel coming back.
Yeah, no, I think, man, like I feel like I've been a Stefanski, defender or apologist on our show, but I feel like he's like it's not uncommon for a third string quarterback or second string quarterback because that's his progression throughout the year to not get a bunch of reps with starters, right? Plus, Shedeur talked about his transitioning from rookie mini camp to OTAs and all that stuff. He wasn't getting first team reps then either, right? When they had Joe Flacco, they knew he was going to be the starter. They also had, I forgot who was it, Kenny Pickett that they sent off.
Mm-hmm.
So those two were firmly getting most of those snaps. So, this is literally the first week that he got the snaps. So my sincere hope is that he goes, plays well the rest of this season, gets some whole off season as, this is the guy that we think we can, go into, go start with next year because something's crazy. Two stats are crazy. Himbo stats I was like looking up and stuff. One of them is Shedeur is the first starter in Brown, like since like maybe Bernie Kosar or something like that, to get a W in his first start. It's been like over 50 years or something crazy since they had a rookie quarterback in his first start get a W, which is insane. And the Browns since 1999 have had 42 different starting quarterbacks. Now, as a country, we've had 47 presidents. The Browns in the last 26 years have had 42 starting quarterbacks, right? So eventually something has to happen to where somebody can kind of take the reins. And again, like the reality is, Shedeur gave them hope. Like that looked like the first long pass Myles Garrett seen since he's been with the Browns that, from his offense, Jerry Jeudy had that unexcusable fumble that he had in that game as well. But Shedeur Sanders did look composed in the pocket. He was 55% completion, one touchdown, one interception. The biggest thing I liked is only one sack, right? You going against Max Crosby, and they had a lot of game plan for him, but he only got sacked one time. He'll have a little more pressure this week. Robert Saleh is a better defensive coordinator than what they have for the Raiders, but I think it's going to be a good challenge. And I would just, if I'm a Browns fan, I would just feel hopeful for one, right? Like, hey, Shedeur came in, he balled. This gives us something to be hopeful. And then getting from the point from being hopeful to being, expecting success from your starting quarterback. And I think he's honestly the first quarterback since Deshaun Watson, right? Or Baker even, right? Because Deshaun Watson, when he first got there, everybody thought he was going to be good and he kind of fell off. But he's the first quarterback since maybe even Baker that had them hopeful and someone that you expect on a weekly basis to compete. There's a reason that Dillon Gabriel was projected to be a day 3 pick. I don't know why the Browns picked him on day 2, maybe his intangibles, but his tangibles on the field have shown that he's going to be a career backup baby, right? Shador Sanders is someone that you can potentially scheme up, and he can be a star quarterback. He has those leadership qualities. He has those leadership traits, rather, and the life that he injected into that offense, that team. Everybody looked excited, the fans, his teammates, etc. And hopefully, Stefanski knows he's coaching for his job. And at this point, you got to go with who's going to give you the wins. And Shador has been that for a while. So,
yeah, man. Some interesting notes from that game. You talk about him injecting life into that team. It's very clear to me who that locker room wants to be under center. Dillon Gabriel didn't receive that same kind of love, that same kind of support. So much so, right? Deshaun Watson traveled with the team and was actually present on the sideline.
Coaching them up.
Now, again, people can say whatever they want to say about Deshaun Watson, and maybe that's not the person that you want to endorse you, right? But I think it says something for a guy that's essentially been in the stands for the last 2 years, regardless of who's been under center. He hasn't been on the sideline. And so for him to come down and spend time with Shador and make sure that, hey, I'm giving him everything that I've got to make sure that he's successful. The defense really leaning in on him, right? Him breathing life into the receivers and to the line. And like, you could just tell like the energy was different around this Browns team. Now, do I think that means like, hey, they're going to go run the table and win out on the season? Probably not. That's just not the reality here. They're going to face some talented teams down the stretch, and Shador is going to have some growing pains, right? I want him to do well because I do think that he deserves a real chance to prove to us that he can be an NFL starting quarterback. I think he was underdrafted. I'm not saying that he should have gone in the first round, but if you want to argue that he's not a first round quarterback, I would argue that he should have been at least in the same tier as Dillon Gabriel. So the fact that he went in the fifth, I still find it ridiculous. So hey, in the pocket we're staunch Shador supporters. Here's the thing that I wish that he wouldn't have done, but I understand, right? Like, this is who he is, and this is just the confidence and the belief that he has in himself. I think he has to be more cognizant of what he's saying when a microphone is in front of him.
Yeah.
And I know he doesn't mean to come off that way. It's literally, hey, this is the stuff that his father put in him, right? Like, this is years and years and years and years of just like coaching that, he's grown up in this, and this is naturally who he is. And you can call it arrogance. You can call it him being cocky. I just think that you give people who already aren't on your side continued ammunition and reasons to nitpick at you when you inevitably fall, because it's not about whether or not he is going to fall. He is going to fall. Every quarterback does at some point. Like, why give people unnecessary ammunition with these comments? But don't get me wrong, right? Like, I like the energy. I was a big Baker fan. I'm still a big Baker fan. Right. I think playing with that attitude, with that chip on your shoulder, especially with a franchise that, hasn't historically played with a lot of swag and things of that nature. I think you want a leader that kind of feels like that. That's kind of passed that to the rest of the team. So, my only hope for him is that, hey, as he continues to grow, as he continues to mature, that, the situational awareness will also increase. Either that, right, or what he's showing us on the field supports what he's saying in front of a microphone.
Absolutely. And I think he's used to that. He's done that in high school. He's done that in college. I have no reason to doubt he's going to do that in the NFL. Again, the Browns organization has made some questionable decisions over the years. You look at it, Deshaun Watson trade, letting Baker go when he took you to your first playoff win for I don't know how long. So I think, and it was over a division rival, right? It was over the Steelers. So I felt like they made some questionable decisions. Hopefully, Shador can rectify that. And then obviously we talked about it a second ago, just going on the opposite side of the ball for that Browns team. And this might be the most coverage the Browns are getting from any program because we're true footballers over here, right? Myles Garrett is on a historic pace, man. There's 6 games left. He's at 18 sacks already, right? The sack record is 22 and a half. He legitimately could break that their next game against the 49ers, worst case 2 games. And I think he has an opportunity to put a record on the books that's going to be so high. I think he has an opportunity to get to 25, 26 sacks this season. If he's at this pace, I mean, 12 sacks, 11 and a half sacks the last 3 games. So if he does that, he's going to be at 30 sacks. He's putting up video game numbers at that point. But what are your expectations? You know, him getting double team, triple team, and still putting up numbers like that. Like, do you expect him to break that record, and how high do you think it'll be?
Yeah, I expect him to break the record. I expect him to break the record within the next 2 games. And here's the thing that I like about the trajectory that he's on is for all of those people who are just, well, that record doesn't count because he got the extra game. I think he's going to beat it with games to spare. Yeah. I think he's going to beat it with at least 2 to 3 games to spare. And it's going to be indisputable, you know, how dominant Myles Garrett is. Myles Garrett, right? Unfortunately, his career was in Cleveland. But in my mind, Myles Garrett is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Myles Garrett could retire today and be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. And to see him get after the quarterback the way that he has over the last few weeks, and they know he's coming, and there's nothing that you can do about it, right? Like, this is probably his most dominant year. I think this is a more dominant year than his Defensive Player of the Year.
And that's crazy to say. And the thing that's dope is he just got paid last offseason. They didn't want to let him go, and you can clearly see why they didn't want to. Because can you imagine if they let him out the building and he was put up these numbers somewhere else, right? Like what fans would say.
Well, here's the thing: if all the reports are to be believed, if he had left the building, he would have been putting up these numbers in a Philadelphia Eagles jersey. How he was prepared to release 3 different first-round draft picks and a player to acquire his services.
Yeah, and I believe that, right? Because they've been aggressive, and he's worth all that and some extra. But you look at the games they got coming up. They got the 49ers with Brock Purdy coming back for his second game, right? Time is still not there, so that's a game they could have sacks. But after that, they got the Titans, who are 1-10. Their line's dismal, right? Their offense has been a panic. Mm-hmm. And then they got the Bears, who looked good this year. Their offensive line is much improved over last year. But I don't think they can hold Myles Garrett sackless. And then they got the Bills,
whose line is atrocious.
Whose line has been like their line is normally good. It's just they haven't been in sync this year, man. And then they got the Steelers. They got the Steelers and the Bengals again. They close out the season with the season with the Bengals, who will have Joe Burrow back. Which I still don't even think he should be playing, honestly.
I think Myles Garrett finishes the season at 32 sacks.
I think Myles Garrett, I think he'll be at 27. I think it'll be like a 27, somewhere around there, that range. But he could put up like another 5 sacks against the Titans, man. That is one of the worst lines, if not the worst line in the NFL.
Yep. Like I said, historic pace, man. Congratulations to both of those guys in Cleveland. You know, I hope continued success for those guys. Especially, you know, for Shedeur, for him starting out, like, I hope that this is the start of something good. And, you know, I hope for the fans in Cleveland, like, that this is a person that they can rally behind. And hopefully they're going to have a franchise quarterback for years to come so they can focus on actually, you know, building this team out in other areas and not have to worry for once in 4 decades who's going to be under center. Also, just a lighter note on that particular game, as we know, the Raiders are continuing to embody the word suck. Chip Kelly is out as the offensive coordinator. What a lot of people told it as a pretty decent hire in the offseason proves to be once again a complete dud. It feels like the Raiders organization continues to pedal backwards. I don't know if Pete Carroll survives this year either. Geno looks like a shell of himself. But here's the thing about Chip Kelly, and I'm going to go ahead and say it because it needs to be said. I don't think that Chip Kelly is a very good football coach. I don't think Chip Kelly has ever been a very good football coach outside of his Oregon years. I think especially when it comes to the NFL, there's something about Chip Kelly in the NFL that do not mix. That's oil and water. And you should, under no circumstances ever, if you're an NFL franchise, employ that man, because he doesn't know what he's doing at this level. He hardly knows what he's doing at the college level.
Man, so I disagree a little bit. I don't think I don't think he should be. I would agree that he shouldn't be a head coach for sure. I don't think he is NFL head coaching material. His first stint with the Eagles kind of showed that. Maybe he learned from it. I don't know, but
He didn't.
I feel like with the Raiders, man, and it's like, who do they have that can scare you? They have Ashton Genty behind no line, right? They have Bowers that's been hurt for a little bit, right? They got Myers, whatever, who was coming up hurt as well. They have no receivers. They got rid of Jacoby Meyer, right? Like, they don't have that offense is literally besides Ashton Genty at the running back position. So think about it this way. It's rough that you have an offense with Ashton Genty. This is a better way to put it. Brock Bowers, and you're still one of the worst offenses in the NFL because your line is so bad and your receiving threats are so bad, right? When you got Pat Surtain lining up on a tight end because me or you could guard the receiving threats that they have, right? Like, these are guys that on other teams would be on their practice squad if we're being realistic, right? I don't know how you could make that work. And they're again, I'm not knocking them for trying because they have taken some swings in the offensive line. They've drafted some guys. They just haven't been able to develop them.
Well, they're playing people out of position too. I think that's part of the thing too, right? Like Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, somebody has to be held responsible for the gross negligence that's going on with Jackson Powers Johnson. Why is he playing at guard?
He has to be for that team, man. Like, he was getting abused at tackle, so they figure
he's a center,
right? But center to guard. Look, this is what I'm saying. Center to guard is a easier transition than going from a tackle to a center or a tackle to a guard, right? So I understand it, but when you're so devoid of talent, bro, like it was what the Chiefs did last year. They had one of the best guards in the NFL playing at tackle, and he was getting abused, right? And they got rid of him because they just didn't have the depth there. That kind of shows you the depth that they have on the offensive line. Really, they have three players that are worth the salt, which is, Bowers, Colton Miller, I feel like he's average. I feel like, they paid him. I feel like he's meh, though. Like, if he's the best person on your offensive line, your offensive line's in trouble. Like that's just the reality. And then they got Max Crosby on the defensive end.
Yeah.
They need some talent. I don't know if Jesus could have came in and coached that team and they would have outperformed, which outperforming the drops they've had, all that, man.
I just think there's gross negligence, gross malpractice going on with their actual depth chart and roster formation, because they have actual third round draft picks on their offensive line that are not getting zero play time. Like, they're playing practice squad guys in there, and it's not because these guys are hurt. And my thing is, if you're drafting guys in the third round and you got practice squad players that are better than them, like, you need to evaluate your scouts because somebody messed up big time. Like I said, I'm going to continue to defend the Jackson Powers Johnson because I can't tell you how many times we've seen offensive linemen in the NFL, right, being played out of position, and we write those linemen off as, oh, they're not that good or they're overhyped, when really the reality is they're just being played out of position. And I get it, right? Logically, especially as somebody that's played on the interior of an offensive line, right? Like the jump from center to guard is a much easier jump than from center to tackle. Tackle is its own different beast. But I would also argue center sits on an island all by itself because there is so much mental stuff that has to go into that as well. I think this could be a scenario where Jackson Powers Johnson is a center, period. Like, that's all he is a center. And maybe you drafted him in the hopes that he could be two things, but he's just not two things, right? And it could be as simple as playing on the right side or the wrong side of the line, right? I think Kevin Dotson is a great example of this for the Los Angeles Rams. Steelers drafted him, played him out of position, gave him away for peanuts. The Rams immediately start playing him at right guard, which is his true position. And now look at him. He has been in the top 5, top 10 of guard performances since he's moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And I think the thing with Jackson Powers Johnson is we'll see more. He's on injured reserve. We'll see what they do kind of going into next year. But when you have a team like that, you want to draft linemen that can play multiple positions. This guy can play guard. This guy could play tackle. He could play either tackle. He could be our swing tackle, etc. And I do like we talked about it, like DJ Glaze, their right tackle from Maryland. That's a guy that I wanted the Broncos to draft and develop into a starter. I think by the time Michael McGlinchey's contract was up, but I don't think he was ready to start this year. The thing is, he's not ready to start. He's starting on that team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they got Stone Forsyth starting at left tackle because Colton Miller's on injured reserve. They got Dylan Parham starting at left guard, who they got from Memphis a few years ago, who's been he was kind of one of those guys that you think you could develop and play. And he's been solid, but he hasn't been. He's reminded me a little bit of Dalton Reisner, where he's an okay starter, but you're always looking for somebody to replace him at that spot. Jordan Meredith, who I have no idea who that is, bro. I know he's got blown up when we played him, and then they got Will Putnam at center. And if you look at it, they got Will Putnam. In my mind, right, you got Will Putnam, Jackson Powers Johnson, who obviously is out. You got Alex Kappa. Those three should be starting somewhere, right? Those are three names that, in my mind, on that line, unless something's terribly wrong, should be starting. I would imagine they would give you a better chance to win. And obviously, they weren't expecting Jackson Powers Johnson, Colton Miller to be injured this year, right? But like their line has been abysmal. Like they can get no push in the run game for Ashton Genty. They have no receiver that scares you. They got Trey Tucker, who again, I'm a fan of Trey Tucker, but Trey Tucker and Tyler Lockett being your top two receivers as Jack Beck's developing, I don't know if that's a recipe for success. So I think again,
has Beck even seen the field this year?
He has. He has. He hasn't been.
I swore I watched that game yesterday, the other day, man, and I don't think I saw him.
Yeah, no, I think he was. He might have been inactive that last game, but on the season he only has 8 catches and 92 yards. So again, I just think that they drafted a lot of guys that weren't like, hey, we could draft this. Like Ashton Genty was a guy they drafted. Like, yep, he can come and have an impact. The rest of that draft was a lot of development guys when they needed when they didn't have somebody to develop them behind, and it's forcing some of these guys that need some development, because the reality is like going from high school to college is a thing, but going from college football to the NFL is completely different, because you're saying like, oh yeah, these boys can really run. Like you're always the fastest on your team. You get to NFL, if somebody, two people next to you ran a 4.3, 4.28, whatever the thing may be, or yeah, I was the strongest at my school, I bench press 225 15 times or whatever as a corner, and you got corners and safeties doing that 25, 30 times, right? Mm-hmm. So saying that to say, man, I think they'll be in position with some more infusion of talent, specifically on their defense, adding some receivers on their offense if they can get somebody to go there in free agency. But like, I don't think Geno's as bad as he's played this year. I don't think he's as good as maybe he was playing in Seattle.
I don't think he's as good as his contract.
Yeah, he's definitely not as good as his contract, but I also don't think he's as bad. But if they're going to be down, I'm not mad about it, because, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's Broncos over here. And tell Marshall I said what's up.
I will. We could go game by game. We're not going to go game by game. Here's what we're going to do. I think this would be a much more fun exercise. Mike, I want to give you some team names, and I want you and I to discuss whether these guys are contenders or pretenders.
Absolutely.
Because based off of how wacky this entire football season has gone, right? And I think we're starting to see that power shift where the last few years, right? I think nobody could argue that the dominant teams in the NFL have been primarily in the AFC. And I think this is the first year that you're starting to see that pendulum swing back to the NFC, where there's a lot more powerhouses coming out of the NFC this year. That doesn't mean that there aren't any in the AFC. I just feel like the NFC this year is a little bit more dominant than the AFC. Now, that being said, I want to start off at the top of the show, at the top of this, because we spent like 25 minutes talking about Browns and Raiders. Good Lord, what are we doing?
Right.
Bills, contenders, pretenders.
I think they're pretenders, man.
I agree.
Yeah, that receiver position, brother, like Keon Coleman being inactive, actually like a no dress for 2 games, punishment, being late for a team meeting, saying, hey, he has to earn it back, and then you guys not really have anybody to put it up. Like, they got James Cook, who's been balling. Their line has been cool. They've been dealing with a few injuries, but their defense, man, if you can't stop the run, I'm nervous about you in the playoffs, because guess what teams are going to do when it gets colder? They're going to run the ball, right? Like, if Buffalo was playing their defense, they would run for 200 yards, right? So like, I think that's something they haven't got figured out with Ed Oliver being hurt. But I think they're pretenders, man.
Yeah, I think they're pretenders as well. I think the defense isn't really good this year. I don't think they have any weapons like out there offensively. James Cook is doing what he can. I think the offensive line continues to be a mess. It's something that you know they haven't been able to get right since Sean McDermott came there. The line's been decent, but they just have not been able to get it together the entire tenure for Sean McDermott. And Josh Allen is Josh Allen, but we are starting to see the toll of him donning the cape. You're starting to see it play out. He can't put it on as often as he used to. And his body's taking the punishment. And don't get me wrong, I think he's still holding up really, really well. I'm not saying that I think Josh Allen is broken or that he's on the decline, but I think how often he can put that cape on, I think those days are coming to an end where he's still going to be a really, really high level quarterback, but he is not going to be a quarterback that you can just have him do absolutely everything. He can't be your rushing attack and your passing attack and all of that simultaneously. Like, you have to protect him. You have to give him some weapons to throw to. You have to scheme up something because you guys can't scheme a receiver open to save your life. And you have like two of the most talented tight ends in the league. They're definitely not bottom tier, but you wouldn't know it because nobody ever hears anything about him. This is part of the reason why there's a consistent voice for Sean McDermott to get removed as the head coach of that team, because it feels like he just has missed on this window for the Bills. And it's sad to say for Bills fans, I really think that their Super Bowl window is closed.
I don't think it is. I think this year, yeah, they got something to do, but they got, again, everybody deals with injuries, and it's kind of how you bounce back from it. But like we talked about it in earlier podcasts, where this year has felt like there's been more injuries at key positions with star players than any year that we've remembered. Like Ed Oliver being out, Dalton Kincaid being out. Like that's your best tight end, your best defensive lineman are both out, right? So again, now having one person holding up your whole run defense is a problem. Also, I can't disagree with that, but like I think there are a couple of free agent signings away, and it doesn't need to be a Joey Bosa, although he started off well. I would 100% have invested in that D tackle room aside from Ed Oliver. I think they drafted that corner well, and if you let those guys develop, but they haven't had a receiver that has scared you since Stephon Diggs has left, right? And they showed last year how good they could be. Josh Allen winning an MVP without that number one receiver, but at the same time, like,
he shouldn't have won that MVP. I stand by that.
I still think he should have won it, but there's only so long, like you said, that you can be Superman without that. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Peyton Manning, where you can plug in anybody, Matt Collins or whatever, a slot and go crazy. It's not like that, right? So I think he needs and I think they did that with Keon Coleman, thinking that's what he could be. But it takes receivers a few years to develop. So I think they need to dip into that free agency pool. You got receivers so fresh, they're like, man, I'm retiring. I think they should have made a call for some of those guys, maybe at the trade deadline. But this year, I think their season's done. I don't think they're going to be in Super Bowl contention this year, but I think with a few, properly told moves, they could get back in a good position.
Okay. Next team I'm gonna throw at you, Chicago Bears.
Man, if I got to go off of a whim, I'm gonna say Contenders, because outside of the Rams, and really the Seahawks, right? The Rams and the Seahawks have been the class of the NFC this year, and they're in the same division, a game apart. The Bears have been the best looking team. Now, do I think they're as good as their 8-3 record? No, right? They're playing a last place schedule from last year or whatever the case may be, but I do think they're much improved. Caleb Williams is going from running around looking like Kyler Murray his first year to actually trusting the line he has, being able to turn his back to a defense on play action, turn around, get his head around, get the ball to where it's supposed to be, throw it to the guy, and he's there. So I think they're going to be a team that people don't want to play in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to – I wouldn't call them Super Bowl favorites or anything like that, because experience, right? They have to go do it before you can say, like, hey, this is a team that I think – they were battle tested last year. They went to the playoffs. They won a game. They haven't been there, right? So I think they're in potential. They're a game out from being the number one seed in the NFC right now. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, I like what they've been putting together. The margins of victory for them have been really, really, really slim. And there's two ways to look at that, right? There's two ways to look at it and say, hey, they're finding ways to win in spite of some adversity, or this is a team that doesn't really know how to win, but the ball is bouncing their way at the right times, right? Like they're making the plays when they need to. So two different schools of thought on that. I have a real hard time saying that they're contenders. I think their record says that they're a contender, but I think they're the best pretenders masquerading as contenders.
I feel that.
Because to your point, I look at their strength of schedule and hey, you're playing an NFL team, so there's something to be said about that. But I look at their strength of schedule and I look at even like their strength of victory and things of that nature, and I think, hey, that ball bounces one way the other for the other team, right? Like there's several games that are losses, easy. I think Ben Johnson has them going in the right direction. I don't know if this is a team that is ready to contend in the playoffs. Like
Let me ask you this.
they'll be there. I just don't know how long they're going to be there.
I think they'll be cool just because they're very likely to have at least a home game, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's not a place you want to play in the wintertime, Chicago.
Nobody wants to go to Soldier.
Nobody wants, like their players don't want to go there, but the players are used to it. Now let me ask you this, like, and I know we're gonna hop back on it, but like a similar team in my mind in the AFC, like would you trust the Bears more to go on a little bit of a run, or would you trust like the Jags more for 7-4 to go on a little bit of a run? Like who would you trust more?
I would trust the Bears more.
Yeah,
I would trust the Bears more, and the only reason why I would trust the Bears more is because I trust their quarterback more.
Right. No, and that's fair. I just want to ask that because those are two teams that people look at kind of similarly, the younger teams. But Trevor Lawrence has been in the league a while. He got his second contract already. So I don't get the fascination. I
have more faith in Caleb Williams at this point than I do in Trevor Lawrence. Right, and that's the difference for me.
Yeah, and you know what you got with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Caleb Williams still has some potential to get to.
Yeah, I still think that Caleb Williams, like, there are some things that he does that I think, like, man, you gotta stop doing that. But again, right, this is year 2 for him. I want to be a little bit more lenient with him than with Trevor. But I think both of those teams are about the same. I really do. I think they're about the same. I trust the Bears more than I would the Jaguars. But yeah, like I said, I say their record has them as a contender, but I think that they are the greatest pretenders masquerading as contenders. Next team that I do want to throw out to you, and this one might get controversial because I know where I stand on this one, and I guess I'll be eating my words here in maybe a week or two. Lions.
I think they're contenders. I think the Lions as the 8th, they're sitting outside if the playoffs were to start today, but I cannot say from watching this season that Green Bay is significantly better than them, sitting at the 6th seed. The Niners are better than them. I don't believe that right now. The Seahawks look dangerous. I can't, obviously the NFC South is the NFC South, but like I would be more nervous to play the Lions and the Bucks at this point. And really because of their experience, I'd be more nervous to play them than the Bears. So I think they're a contender, man. That's a team that if they get in the playoffs, you look at it, if they were in the AFC, they'd be somewhere between 5 and 7, and the NFC being a little bit stronger this year, they're on the outside of the playoffs. And if they were the NFC South, they would be leading that division, right? And if they were in the AFC North, they'd be leading that division. But saying that to say that's a team that I still believe in, man. Their defense has been humming. Kevin Shepard has had them boys balling on defense. I trust that a lot, and I trust that the experience they have, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, absolutely going crazy. They pulled it off in overtime again. So yeah, I think that's a contender for real. That's a real contender.
Yeah, I got the Lions as contenders. Yeah. I have the Lions as bigger contenders than the Bears.
100%. I agree.
And here's the thing about the Lions. This has been a very up and down year for them, and I think this has definitely been a year where in years past, the ball has bounced in their favor, and it hasn't bounced in their favor as many times this year. That and Dan Campbell making some very, very questionable play calling decisions. Now, I get it, right? Like their whole identity is we're going to go for it on fourth down, but there comes a point, and we've talked about this, 2 years ago, when they had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and Dan Campbell just decided, like, I'm going to do fourth. And like, you have to have some situational awareness at some point and say, hey, yes, I know that this is typically our identity, but there are analytics. There are certain stats that exist for a reason. If they kick 2 field goals, like out of the 4 that, on the 4 tries for fourth down that they missed, like if they kick 2, they win the game.
Right. Yeah.
Both last year, but both in the previous years that I was talking about, and I think even their last loss, they went for it like 4 times on fourth down within field goal range and missed it all 4 times. And if you kick 2 of those field goals, you win that game. Like at a certain point, you can't just be like, well, this is who we are, because who you are is also, you can't just say like, oh, it is the Detroit Lions nature for them to go for it on fourth down, because if that's what you're going to say, like, oh, that's their identity, then their identity is also they're idiots.
Yeah, you have to go for it.
Don't know how to play situational football.
Right. Yeah, you have. I think that can come back to bite you. But I look at their schedule, man, and they got the Packers coming up, on Thanksgiving. I'm leaning towards the Lions. They got the Cowboys after that. They got the Rams, which is going to be the toughest game of their season. The Rams are looking really dangerous. Then they got the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers still has a broken left wrist. Try to play on that. They got the Vikings, who J.J. McCarthy has looked like buns. So I'm expecting them to win. And they got the Bears to close the season out. Like, I see at least 4 wins out of that. The Cowboys, the Steelers, the Vikings, I think they'll beat the Bears or the Packers. That'll put them at 11-4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely think they still have a chance to come out, and like so we still have quite a bit of a season left to go. Yes, they're on the outside looking in right now, but I expect them to be there when it's all said and done.
100%.
Another team that I want to talk about, pretenders, is the Colts.
Man, I think they're pretenders, and the reason I say that is, because the teams that have played them this year that have made Daniel Jones go beat them, right? Like, hey, we're going to shut down Jonathan Taylor. He had 45 yards, I want to say, against the Steelers in that loss. Let me see real quick. The Chiefs said, hey, let Daniel Jones beat us. And again, he got him into overtime, etc. The Steelers held him to 43 yards. And then what's the other game? The Rams, when they played you guys, right? Y'all beat them by 7, but y'all held Jonathan Taylor to 17 or 76 yards on 17 carries, right? When there's been other games where he's had like 15, 16 carries and 150 yards, right? So I think they're pretenders because I don't trust their quarterback to go win them a game. And they're gonna, and teams in we know how much harder defense is in the playoffs, and I just don't see him getting them over that hump in the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think the MVP trajectory that Jonathan Taylor was on at the beginning of the season has, like, that flame has extinguished entirely. That's not to say that Jonathan Taylor still isn't a threat, but we're not at the beginning of the year. I thought we were looking at a Saquon Barkley-esque run for him this year. And I think it's pretty safe to say at this point, that is not what we're looking at, right? Like, defenses has effectively found a way to get in there and shut him down. And they've done exactly what I would do in that instance. Make Daniel Jones beat me with his arm, because I don't believe that he can.
100%.
And, I think he's reverting from Danny Dimes into Danny Two Nickels. Like, that's what's happening right now. So I have the Colts as well as pretenders. Now, there's a good chance that they're going to run away with the AFC South. I don't think that means a whole lot of anything. But I also think if they're not careful, they better watch out for Houston, because that defense is real.
Yeah, that's the best defense in the NFL.
That defense is real. And if they can get CJ Stroud back and get any semblance of offense rolling, that is a team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs because that defense is just nasty. I watched Will Anderson chase somebody for 27 yards on Thursday night. Like, talk about relentless. And the crazy part is Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are so efficient at what they do. What D'Amico Ryans has them doing right now is they're only coming in on like money downs.
And the thing that's wild, bro, is as bad as their offense has been without CJ Stroud and even really realistically with CJ Stroud this year, they have a plus 61 point differential that lets you know how good their defense has been this year.
Yeah, it's insane. So for that reason alone, because I have to look at the Texans in that division, like I have the Colts as pretenders.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, this would be a fun one. Eagles, contenders, pretenders.
Shit, man. I would say pretenders because Saquon hasn't been able to get on track like he needs to. They're coming off a loss to the Cowboys, who they should honestly beat the hell out of if we're being realistic. And then they've had so much drama that's been public, man. Like AJ Brown. I don't remember a team anytime in the last 20 years or so that has had as much as they've had drama wise. And what made it to Super Bowl, they reminded me of the Cowboys. The Cowboys always have some shit happening. You know what I'm saying? The Cowboys always have some shit happening. And they don't do anything. And this year, again, they've been able to overcome it. But man, like without Saquon running how he's been running, like let me pull up what Saquon's at for the year, bro. Because it's like
it's not
Saquon's
good.
at 684 yards for the year. This time last year, he was at like almost 1,500 yards. So I just feel like again, Devontae Smith has been balling. He's been their bright spot on offense, but their defense, Vic Fangio calling their defense, that's a team. I'm not saying they're going to get like beat up in the playoffs, but I have a very hard time believing that them boys are going to go crazy. I just have a hard time believing they're going to go crazy this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to spin back to the NFC. Seahawks. Are the Seahawks contenders or are they pretenders?
Man, that's a team I would not want to play. I would say I think if we're talking contending for a Super Bowl, I think they're pretenders. But I think that's a team that if you're the Eagles, we'll say, and then the first game you got to play is against, the Seahawks. Like I'm favoring the Seahawks in that game, specifically because the Seahawks have been better on the road under Mike McDonald than they've been at home for some reason. Their defense plays well. JSN has been in the zone when he's in the zone. They're coming off of a bad game, but I think that team is a team that, like, man, like I don't that's one of the scariest teams in the NFC, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have a real hard time labeling them pretenders. But I also don't want to label them contenders.
Right.
But I think for the sake of this exercise, I will label them as contenders because I got to give respect where respect is due. The defense has been playing well. The offense is explosive. So far this year, there's only been a single team that has found an answer for JSN. Outside of that, he's been able to do whatever it is that he wants to do. And here's the thing. They've been putting up these numbers in spite of Sam Darnold not really taking care of the ball. Like Sam Darnold has been throwing quite a few interceptions this season, and they're still in every single game. I definitely think like these last 2 weeks have been a little bit wobbly for them, right? Where they came to SoFi and they were able to battle their way back, but even, despite Sam Darnold getting picked off 4 times. So I think there's definitely something to be said for that. But then you just had a Sunday where they were just playing the Tennessee Titans, who are not even arguably, they are the worst team in the NFL, and escaped Tennessee with a 6-point margin of victory. Like they should have blown the absolute doors off of Tennessee, as explosive as that offense is. So I don't know what to make of the Seahawks. Again, you look at it, they're one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL this season. The defense is solid. Like you said, they travel well. But again, this is another thing where I don't trust the guy under center. And I think everything in me is telling me like that is not a team I would bet money on to go far because of the man that is under center.
Yeah, and I think, man, realistically, the Vikings, if they had to do it all over again, Sam Darnold will still be with them, but it was kind of hard with how he played in the playoffs. But if he can carry over, if Sam Darnold can carry over how some of these good games he's had, focusing on JSN, Kenneth Walker's been running really well this year. Their defense has been humming. Like if he relies on that defense and takes care of the ball, which he hasn't shown the propensity to do this year, I'm just like looking at it again too. Yeah, he has 10 turnovers this year, this will put him on pace to have the most. Like the most turnovers he had was 15 as a rookie, and he threw 17 touchdowns. This is the second most touchdowns he's thrown at 19 so far this year. But he's on track, to be rivaling his 13, 15 year interceptions. He's throwing about a pick a game this year. So if he can take care of the ball, I mean, that's really the difference. The games that he's taken care of the ball, they've been fine. They've won some games where he wasn't taking care of the ball, but in the playoffs, there's not many games they're going to win like that. So I really think it all depends. Them being a contender depends on Sam Darnold taking care of the ball, trusting his defense, his run game, JSN, who's been balling like he's the best receiver in the NFL this year. I think if he trusts those guys, like nobody's going to want to play him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. Like I said, I'm gonna leave them in the contender spot for right now. Just a few more teams that I wanted to go through because I thought that they would be interesting exercises. Let's talk about the 49ers.
No, I think they're pretenders, man. I think they have a lot happening too, man. You got Brandon Ayuk out for the year. They voided his contract guarantees next year. George Kittle, as much of a force as he is blocking, he looks like he slowed down a little bit receiving right, which makes sense as you get older. Trent Williams looks like he's still a force, but he looks like he's on his last leg, man. Like Christian McCaffrey has been all world this year. It's crazy how he's came back. But I just think if you're a defensive coordinator going against that team in the playoffs, you're saying, we got to shut down. I would do that same strategy, right? That we talked about with like the Colts. Like I got to shut down Christian McCaffrey, which is pretty much impossible because he's going to get his numbers, but I'm going to limit what he does. And then who do in first party to go win? And Dewan Jennings, I think is a baller, but like if that's the receiver that you got to worry about the most with some of these secondaries, like the Eagles secondary against the offense, like. And as many questions I have with the Eagles, like I think the Eagles would be favored. I think they're pretenders, man. I trust the Seahawks and the Rams a lot more than I trust the Niners at this point.
Well, I think this is where you and I differ. I actually think that the 49ers are contenders this year. And it pains me to say that, but I think it is so hard for me to just dismiss them based off of the coaching job that they've done with the lack of talent that they have had, right? Like in spite of all, and these aren't like injuries to people that you don't know. Like these are injuries to their actual like core. Fred Warner being gone, I think Fred Warner being gone has a greater impact than Nick Bosa being out.
100%.
Yeah. Like, and the receiving threats, I mean, they're throwing whoever can put a jersey on game day. Like that's who's out there receiving. And even though I don't think that Brock Purdy is the best quarterback, and even watching the game last night, he did not look great. But again, this is like his first week back. Right. And he got picked off a couple times. Turnover worthy throws was much, much higher than what actually happened. But I think I have them in the contender spot because Robert Saleh knows how to get the most out of what he has on that roster defensively, and that Kyle Shanahan is still scheming ways for people to get open, finding ways to get the ball into McCaffrey's hand, finding ways to get the ball into receivers that you've never even heard of hand, and he's done it consistently with two different quarterbacks, with both Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, both who've shown this season that they can be efficient enough to get the job done. I think that they're a really, really weird team, and the fact that you would look at them and you would look at the injuries and you would say, hey, we don't really have anything to worry about. And I think that's actually an advantage for San Francisco because San Francisco consistently under Kyle Shanahan, especially in the Robert Saleh years, and now this is a Robert Saleh year, they have been one of the more physical teams in the NFL. And in spite of the age, in spite of the injuries, I think this is a team that you don't want to see in the postseason because they're just hungry. They want it a lot more than a lot of these teams that are there. And they feel like they have something to prove this year, especially because they've been written off by so many of these injuries. Like, again, I hate the 49ers down to my toes. Like, I can't stand them, but I have to give the respect where the respect is due. And I think they've done a tremendous job with that roster in spite of all the adversity that they've gone on. I can't dismiss them as pretenders. I don't think that their record is an accident. They've beaten some really, really good teams, and they've been in a lot of games that they ain't have no business being in.
I get it. I just don't trust, and I think everything you said is a fair perspective. I just don't trust them in the playoffs to execute, because that's when a lot of those lucky balls stop going your way, and it's who's the better team, who's healthier, etc. And we've seen that's been one of the things that's gotten them in the playoffs. Now, if it was, are they contenders to go to the playoffs? Absolutely, right? But we're talking about potentially winning the Super Bowl. I don't see them beating the Rams. I don't see them beating the Seahawks in the playoffs, right? Potentially. I would have some questions about maybe the Bucks, depending on their health, right? Like, depending on how Baker's health is, all that. I would have a question about them beating them too. I think they're going to be in every game. They'll be competitive, but I don't think, if I had to take my own personal money and go bet on them to be a NFC Championship representative, I don't think I would do it over some of those other teams.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's where you and I differ, because I would actually take the 49ers over the Seahawks.
That's fair.
In the playoffs. Again, I don't like, by the way, I don't like the quarterback for either of those teams. I don't think
you don't like either teams in general.
Yeah, I don't like either of the teams in general, but like in terms of like who I trust under center, I don't like either one of those guys. But one of those quarterbacks has more than the other quarterback and Dak Prescott combined in terms of postseason wins.
100%.
So I'm just saying there's something to be said there. All right, our final team for contender pretender. I'm gonna leave it in the AFC, and this is one that I feel like I'm gonna collect my W here. The Patriots.
Shit, man, they're a contender, bro. I can't even I mean, bro, Drake May. Really, in my mind, the MVP conversation right now is Drake May, Matt Stafford. In my personal opinion, I think that's where the conversation starts and ends. Drake May is absolutely on a tear. Like, there's a sophomore slump. He's sophomore slithered over here, right? He's going crazy. And Mike Vrabel as a coach, me and you talked about, that's one of our favorite coaches, like physical, that he represents. Josh McDaniels coming back. He was just waiting around till somebody else wanted to hire him in New England as offensive coordinator. Him for Drake May has been phenomenal. Them getting their running backs going, man. Like, Stephon Diggs is turning into a team player there. He has some things in the offseason. You're like, right? And then you see that they traded off, man. This is the thing that's wild. They traded off day 2 picks that weren't getting enough playing time because of how well their defense has been playing to get some assets back. They got like day 3 picks back for him, but like Kenyon White, who looked 40 when he got drafted, and I forgot the other linebacker that they traded off. But they traded off 2 guys that were starting for him a year ago, and they got the best record in the league right now. So, man, like, I don't know. That's a team that they better not start another dynasty, man, because, I hate the Patriots, Tom Brady, Patriots, and all that, being a Broncos fan. But, man, like, them boys are looking magnificent right now.
Yeah. Patriots, contenders. Bro, listen, nobody likes a Patriots dynasty unless you're a Patriots fan. But let me tell you, I really love what I've seen from this team this year. Like, Drake May is ascending. The offensive line is getting better. The running game is getting better. The defense is nasty and physical, just like we thought it would be. They're finding ways to win, despite what I'm going to still say is a lack of weapons on the offense. Yeah, they have Stephon Diggs, but like, when's the last time you heard Hunter Henry's name?
Right, he's been balling, brother.
Jesus, man, like,
crazy this year.
The last time I heard Hunter Henry's name, he was in a Chargers jersey. I just think that Vrabel and McDaniels are getting the absolute best out of that roster. And, they have assets to go play in the draft and free agency this year. I think this offseason is going to be major, major for them. This is a team that I definitely think you do not want to go. And God forbid that they get the number 1 seed in the AFC. You do not want to go to Gillette in the winter, in December and
At all.
January. You
No,
just
not at all.
you don't want to do that. And with Vrabel playing the kind of football that he has that team playing, where they are physical and sound, like they're a disciplined team. There's not too many teams that are going to walk into Gillette and come out of there with a win in the postseason. So I really have them as a contender. And when I say contender, I don't mean just like, hey, they're competing in the play. Like, I really think that there's a way that this team can push for a Super Bowl berth,
Which is absolutely insane, but I agree.
Yeah, I think that's if we're looking at it, like, I have them for AFC representation right now. I'm looking at it's either them or the Broncos. If I had to decide today, it's either them or the Broncos. And I honestly can't tell you that I'm leaning one team way more than the other. I think both of those teams have things that I really, really love about them and things that I really, really hate. By the way, I think also both teams they're both stadiums that you don't want to go play in December and January. It's going to be cold. One of them, the air is going to be thin. The other one, the air is going to be the air is going to be wet. It's going to get down to the bone. Like, both of those teams you don't want. But yeah, Patriots, absolute contenders.
As a Broncos fan, I would lean more towards the Patriots just because we lost J.K. Dobbins for the season.
Mm-hmm.
We have R.J. Harvey, Jaleel McLaughlin, etc. Like, we got some guys, but J.K. Dobbins, we still won. We beat the Chiefs without him, but at the same time, I was very confident until I was going to the playoffs, being able to lean on him. Without him, I'm a little more hesitant. I think we're going to win some games. I think we'll win a game in the playoffs, but I think we'll run into. I think the Patriots make me nervous as shit. I'm just being honest. The Patriots make me nervous as hell this year.
I think you'd be a fool for them not to.
I'd rather play the Bills than the Patriots.
Yeah, look, unless they end up falling apart down the stretch, which I just don't see happening. But this is the NFL; anything can happen. Yeah, I would be really afraid if I was any AFC team having to play New England, especially if you have to go to Gillette. Right. All right. So this is what I wanted to do to close out the show, because we talked about how funky that this NFL season has been, right? And it hasn't been your same typical teams coming out. And there's been new faces. There's been faces that have been falling off. There's some stuff that's been a lot of just middling teams, like teams that are way up and down, up and down, up and down, people that are just playing in the middle. So it's been hard to like pinpoint that team this year where you could point and you say, hey, you know what? I think that's the best team in the NFL this year. Like, there was a moment last year, right, where everybody looked at the Philadelphia Eagles and like, yeah, it's the goddamn Eagles. Like, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. I think that we are now getting to a point where that team is starting to emerge.
Right.
And I'm curious to know, who do you think, not in the conference, who do you think is the number one team in the NFL at this particular point in time?
Man, yeah, I think you're just setting this shit up for you to be happy, but I honestly feel like maybe it's recency bias in that last game, but the Rams look fucking ridiculous right now, bro. Like, if I had to pick a team, it'd probably be the Rams, man. They look very complete. Their front seven's ridiculous. Even Emmanuel Forbes has been balling for him, and you've had those conversations like how he looked previously, but there was a reason he was a first-round draft pick on that upside, and he looks like one of the top 10 corners in the NFL right now if he continues to play that way. In their offense, you can't stop it. I mean, they're actually running the ball. Devontae Adams has the most 1 yard or less touchdowns in NFL history. I heard some shit like that he broke, and then you got Puka that can do the work between the 20s. So that's the team that I would be very – and even, bro, like the tight end that we talked about that y'all got as a throwaway, he's had a couple catches this year, bro. He's had some timely catches this season. Was it Hunter something?
Oh, no. You're talking that guy doesn't play for us anymore. But we've got Davis Allen, we've got Kobe Parkinson, who's gotten
Davis Allen, I guess, because I saw this Davis Allen, I was like, that had to be the guy, because he just seemed like he's had some.
We drafted him, I think, in the 6th round a couple of years ago out of Clemson,
and he's had some like timely ass catches, man. Like, I saw, so I'm like, bro. So I just feel like they got everything going for him as long as McVay continues to lean on the running game at times and keeping Matt Stafford clean. because there was some people that were worried about him with his back going into the season. I told you I thought if Matt Stafford is out there playing, he's going to be fine, and he's proven me right. I didn't think he was going to be playing at an MVP level, but that team looks the most dangerous, man. Like that, they look. That's a team that I don't think anybody wants to play. I think they could bully everybody.
Yeah, listen, everybody that watched the show probably could have predicted this, and as much as I try to leave my bias out of it, like I can't tell you if there's a better team in the NFL right now than the Rams. I think that they're a more complete team than what a lot of people thought. I think that offensive line is playing well. They're not the best offensive line. There's clearly better offensive lines in the NFL, but they're playing well enough to keep Matthew Stafford off of his back for the most part. Matthew Stafford is playing well from under center as well as out of shotgun. They're able to run it out of multiple formations, and McVay has once again tweaked his offense where they were at the beginning of the season, very Puka dependent, where you don't know who's going to get the ball. And he's leaned heavily into some 12 and 13 personnel and getting these tight ends involved, right? And we've seen Colby Parkinson kind of start to emerge. We've seen Davis Allen make a couple good catches, right? Terrence Ferguson getting more burn, and he's had a couple of big plays and stuff. And there's some stuff that's gotten away from him that you just know, like, hey, if he continues to work at his craft, he'll be bringing those in. And then Devontae is just playing, like Devontae said at the podium on Sunday, like, this is the most fun that he's had in his professional career. This is the most fun that he's had playing football. And I think it shows, right? Like
he played with Aaron Rodgers, and he's saying that.
He doesn't care that he's not getting all the yards in the game.
Right.
He's fine in the end zone. He's unselfish. You know, him and Puka are loving it. They're getting Tutu Atwell back. That's going to be their vertical threat over the top. That you just have to respect the speed. They've started to incorporate Jordan Whittington into the rotation. Konate Mumfield has gotten a few crucial catches. Xavier Smith, when he gets back, is going to be something good. Poona Ford has been one of the best additions to this defense because he's helped stop the run. And big shout out to my guy Nate Landman. Free agent acquisition from the Atlanta Falcons, got his bag this week. He re-signs with the Rams, 3 years, $22.6 million.
14 guaranteed or something like that, right?
Yeah, which is insane for the Rams. By the way, really, really good deal for the Rams. But just insane because the Rams don't invest at the inside linebacker position. So I think it says a lot about how they feel about him. And I think his play has been indicative of that. He's been top 10 on in tackles in the league. I think he's got 4 forced fumbles on the year, keeping the peanut punch alive. And he's doing well in coverage. And the secondary that admittedly I had a lot of questions about going into the season, and I still have some questions about. I feel much better about them this year. I feel much better about them, like where we are the year. Like Emmanuel Forbes has evolved into a person that I hope that he could be. He's looking like a number one, right? Darius Williams has done really well. Like Kobe Durant absolutely wrestles a ball away from Cameron Bates and houses it on Sunday for a pick six. Like, and he's played phenomenally, lights out. Cam Curl has been a welcome addition to Cam Kitchens in his second year. And this is, by the way, the Rams are doing this without Quentin Lake, who is a captain on their defense. And he's going to miss some time. He won't be eligible to return until very late in the playoffs, assuming that the Rams are still there to be able to compete for that. But Jarrett Verse continues to get better. Byron Young is having a good year. Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, and even though like the sack numbers aren't showing up, like it's showing up in the pressures, it's showing up in the lack of rush yards for their opponents, the pressure that are on the quarterbacks. They're forcing turnovers ad nauseum. And Akello Witherspoon is on his way back. Akello Witherspoon is like a week or two out. That they're saying that Akello Witherspoon may not be set to start this upcoming week against Carolina, that they might sit him one more week, but there's a solid chance that you're going to see him in that Detroit game. And if you have Kobe Durant inside and you've got Akello on the outside with Emmanuel Forbes, the way that he's been playing, I like their odds on the outside. And something else that I think is underrated that, a lot of people haven't talked about this year, Rob Havenstein, their right tackle, hasn't been well this entire season. And he's played, I think, 4 games. The person that's played the most snaps at right tackle this year has been Warren McClendon, former 6th-round draft pick out of Alabama. He's finally come into form. And I think he looks great. Is he the best right tackle in the game? Hell no, he's not. But I think the Rams have found in him something similar to what they found in Alaric Jackson, which is, hey, this isn't a guy that's at the bottom of the league. He's probably somewhere right in the middle. Maybe you could argue he's in that 12 to probably, I would say probably that 12 to 8 range in terms of his positional value. But McClendon, I think, is on that trajectory. Now, I don't think McClendon is at the same level that Alaric is, but I think he's on that trajectory. And the Rams may have found their future at right tackle, and that's dangerous for them because now, hey, we don't have to spend those assets there. And they're going to have some assets to spend because they control the Atlanta Falcons' #1 draft pick. Like, I love this team. I love what Matt Stafford's doing. He's tied Brady for the most touchdowns thrown since his last interception. He's thrown 27 touchdowns since his last interception. If he's able to throw another touchdown this upcoming Sunday before he throws an interception, he will own that record outright. He's in rarefied air. This is a man that's never won an MVP, and I definitely think that as well as Drake May has been playing, the MVP sits squarely with Matt Stafford right now, especially if he continues to finish out the year the way that he's been going. This is the year that he gets MVP, and I think if there was ever any doubt that Matt Stafford belongs in the Hall of Fame, this is the year that solidifies that for him.
Yeah, if there was doubt, people were tripping. But no, I think it's fair, man. I think that was a good solid way to end it, bro. Like the Rams again, and it's not even like a homer thing, man. Because like I felt like you did that on purpose. Like, hey, who do you think is the best team? Knowing it's gonna be hard for me not to say the Rams, and I'm not a Rams fan, and I know you're my brother, and I love when my boys' teams are down and mine's up. But at the same time, like the Rams look like it's like, and they've done all this without Aaron Donald. Imagine if Aaron Donald was there. I feel like they should call Aaron Donald up just for the playoffs or something. Let him get his.
McVay is hitting his line every week. And he was just at SoFi on Sunday because it was Aaron Donald night. They honored Aaron Donald and everything that he had done for the Rams organization. Like, so he was in the house, and what a performance that the defense put on to honor the GOAT. Like, yeah, listen, I would not be able to handle myself if I see an alert come across my phone saying that Aaron Donald is re-signing with the Rams. I'd lose it. I'd lose it. There's no point in even like. Let me tell you, this podcast is getting real X-rated real fast if Aaron Donald resigns with the Rams, okay? It can't happen. It can't happen, and I can't allow myself to go there because that's just, yeah. It's too sexy. It's too sexy. I can't think about it. But anyway, I said I tried to put my bias aside. I tried to look at this stuff objectively and really do it. But I honestly believe that the Rams are the best team in football today. Now there's still quite a bit of football left to play, right? Like that can change. That can change next week. Humility is only one game away. And you have to take all of your opponents seriously. Like even this Carolina Panthers team, like the Carolina Panthers have been in a lot of games that they didn't have any business being in. They've beaten some opponents that have people scratching their heads. And yes, the 49ers just beat them on Monday night, but if you don't think that they're going to have something to prove next week, especially because, hey, there's still a chance for them to win the South, the NFC South, and make a playoff appearance, I think you're sorely mistaken. So, it's up to the Rams to stay focused and take it one game at a time and really prove what we're saying is that, hey, they're the best team in the NFL.
I think they got a good opportunity, MVP candidate for sure. So I think that's going to be that and their defense, man. They're going to be in a good situation.
Yeah, well, and if I have my way, it'll be a Rams Broncos Super Bowl with it in my favor. With it ended in my favor.
They wouldn't be able to tell us nothing that both our teams made it to the Super Bowl.
Right? Oh no. Yeah, y'all gonna have to unsubscribe. And normally I'm telling y'all to subscribe, but y'all would have to unsubscribe because it's gonna be let me tell you, it's gonna be an unbearable offseason.
Real ignorant, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be an absolutely unbearable offseason. So anyway, I appreciate you guys for sticking around and listening to us talk a lot of football, talk a lot of nonsense, things of that nature. In the Pocket podcast drops every single Wednesday right here on YouTube. So please make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that the bell, the alert button, so that way you can be notified whenever we drop brand new episodes every single week. We cover all 32 NFL teams, and yes, we are biased, but we're football fans first before we're team fans. So appreciate y'all rocking with us. We'll see y'all next week.